Hello and welcome to the video. I did one like this recently where I talked about the best champions from each faction to use in a stone skin artifact set. What I'm going to be doing today is talking about the best champions from each faction to use in a guardian set, which for anyone unaware comes from the Doom Tower from beating the Griffin, where it absorbs 10% of all damage dealt to ally champions and heals by 10% each turn. So essentially, what this kit allows you to do is drastically increase the survivability of your champions everywhere in the game. And I've been using this kit a ton recently to help progress through Faction Wars as well as Doom Tower. So this set is going to be insane for most areas of the game, especially if it's coupled with a champion that already has ally protection or absorb damage through some sort of, passive or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start off here with the Banner Lords, which we only have a couple. So the first one's going to be Lord Champfort, who's kind of an interesting champion. The reason he would make a good Guardian set is because he already has 22,000 base HP, which is ridiculous. And he also has this passive, which at the start of each turn places a shield buff on this champion equal to 20% of their max HP for 2 turns. So he's already getting a crap ton of shield put on him, especially when you bump up his HP quite a bit, so that shield is going to allow him to absorb damage from allies without taking the damage directly to his HP. He's also got a decent kit surrounding that, but he's a very good champion to go with for a Guardian set. The other option from Banner Lords is Helior, who was the $500 legendary they put out at one point, and the reason being is his passive, which is whenever an ally that has 2 or more debuffs is attacked, this champion will absorb 30% of the damage inflicted on that ally. So basically, if you're in somewhere like Arena and a Madame Sarah strips your team, he's already going to be absorbing 30% of the damage as long as she puts both the decreased defense and decreased attack. So then he's going to be taking an additional 10% once you have him put into Guardian set, and it's going to be a very good way to go. The other thing to mention as well is this skill here means that you're actually building him with resistance, not accuracy. Meaning that when you're running him in Arena, that kind of thing, you're going to have a lot of resistance on him, meaning he's not going to be stripped quite as easily. So on to the next faction, which is High Elves. There's 2 here that I would consider running, both of which are epics actually. So the first one is Vergis, obviously. Vergis is insane. He can solo a lot of the Doom Tower. He's got an ally protection, continuous heal, increased speed, reflect damage, and increased defense on his A2 already. So that's a crap ton of buffs right there. He's also got a shield buff on himself when he loses 10% or more of his HP, as well as continuous heal when he drops below 50%. So having this guy in a protection set is going to make it ridiculous. If you're running him in protection, I would also highly recommend running him in something like Immortal, which is going to give you health regen on top, meaning that, for example, Scarab King or something like that, you'll be able to get through it quite easily. The other champion is one that I actually don't have yet but really want. This is kind of a Necrit from Wish.com, and this is Andrysia. She has this passive that's placing an ally protection for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. She's also putting a strengthen and increased defense on herself. So having those buffs out on another champion with low HP, she also has a very good starting HP as well as starting defense and speed. So all around, she's just a great champion to run in something like a Guardian set, which is going to allow her to heal up the rest of your champions, or sorry, not heal up the rest of your champions, to absorb damage from them and heal herself up. So from Sacred Order, I was hard pressed for a pick actually, so I went with Bushy. And what you'd want to do with this guy is just build him slow as hell with a lot of HP so that he's absorbing the damage. He has low speed, low defense, and low HP, which plays well into his passive, which revives him with 30% HP and an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown. The rest of his kit doesn't really matter. It's pretty terrible, not going to lie. But if you put him into a Guardian set, he dies from all the damage he absorbs, revives, has unkillable now, and he can go ahead and absorb damage once again. So you could definitely do some funky stuff with Bushy. If there's any champions from these factions you feel like I'm missing, just go ahead and let me know down in the comments section below. Next up, we have Barbarians, which I have a legendary and an epic for. So the legendary, of course, is Ursuga, who absorbs damage on her passive from critical hits, 30%. She has a 50% ally protection and strengthen on herself. So you couple that with a guardian set, and she's absorbing like 80% of damage from your team, which is ridiculous. She has a very good base HP, base defense, and a ridiculously good base speed. So I mean, she's a very, very good way to go. The other champion is actually a Twitch Prime champion from way back in the day, who I'm lucky enough to have, and it's Vala from the Barbarian Epic. So the reason you'd want her is because she's placing a shield on herself for 3 turns equal to 20% of her max HP, and an increased defense on herself, and filling her turn meter. So this is usually a very selfish skill. You combine that with her passive, though, which is the Resolute Defense, which decreases the damage received by her by 15% while under a shield. So she's going to be absorbing a lot of damage from your allies, and then actually decreasing the damage that she's absorbing herself. So it's a ridiculous little kit that she has there that you could definitely use to get through Faction Wars or Doom Tower or something like that. Next up, we're going to have the Ogrins, which there's really only one option here that I would consider suitable, which is Skull Crusher. He's bringing an ally protection and a counterattack on his A2 on a 3-turn cooldown, as well as a unkillable on himself for 1 turn. So I definitely say once his unkillable is up, he's good to use in a Guardian set. He's predominantly used in something like Clan Boss, though, so you might have some struggles with him surviving in between when his unkillable's not up. He has good HP and good defense, though, off the start, so a decent way to go. That's the only one I was able to find from the Ogren tribes. The options for some of these factions are a little bit limited, that's for sure. Next up is going to be Lizardman, which actually has a decent amount of options. So the first one we're going to go with here is Krisk. Krisk is already placing a shield on everyone up to 50% of his max HP. He also, if I remember right, has an ally protection for 2 turns. So you combine that shield with his high base HP, ridiculously high base defense. You put him in a Guardian set along with the 50% ally protection. This dude's going to be mitigating so much damage on your team, and already Krisk is essentially just a cheat code to get through content in the game. But if you put him in that set, it's going to be even more so. The next champion, Jirag. Jirag already has an ally protection on a 4-turn cooldown, as well as an increased defense. He also has a continuous heal on 1 turn whenever they lose 20% of their max HP in 1 hit. So if he's in a Guardian set, he's going to be proccing this on himself a lot. Very, very good base defense at 23.5k, as well as 1,000, base HP, as well as 1,000 base defense. So a very solid option for a Guardian set. And the last option from Lizardman is actually Broodlord. So this guy is placing ally protection on an ally for 2 turns, as well as block debuffs. He's placing a shield on himself, and then he actually has this passive that whenever this champion is attacked or ally under ally protection, he's putting a decreased speed on them. So this kind of synergizes well together, where you can put an ally protection on a weak champion, get some decreased speeds out on the enemy, and he'll be sucking in a bit of extra damage into that shield that he places on himself as well. Next up is going to be Skinwalkers, which we actually have a decent set of champions. So the first one's going to be Rain Beast, who's placing a shield on himself equal to on an ally equal to 35% of his HP. So that's a massive shield, especially considering he has 18k base already, along with a really good 1200 defense. So he's also got continuous heal on his A1. So this guy shielding your team as well as sucking in some damage could definitely be a good way to go. And think about it this way: if he drops down in HP, he gets a turn with his A1. He's going to put a continuous heal on himself anyways. I just recommend lowering or disabling his A2. This guy has hard carried me through Faction Wars at level 50 in a Guardian set, so definitely a good way to go. And the other option is actually Gnarlhorn, who is a rare. And the reason Gnarlhorn would be a good way to go is because not only does he have a provoke AoE, as well as an increased defense on himself, he also has an unkillable on 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So this guy is an insanely good way to go if you need somebody to suck up some damage. He doesn't have the best HP, though, which is only 17k, but that's okay. You can still scale it quite well. He's going to be provoking people. He's going to be bringing all the damage into him, and his A1 actually scales on how much HP he's lost. So a very good way to go if you're just looking for somebody to kind of carry you through, absorb damage, all that good stuff. On to the Orcs. I actually have a couple picks here. So first one, of course, is Sandlash Survivor. She has a passive that's placing a 50% ally protection buff on all allies for 2 turns when an ally's HP drops below 50%. Then she's also placing a block damage on herself for 1 turn. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. She's also increasing the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. So this champion in a ally protection set is going to suck up a lot of that damage, and the bonus is she's going to be under a block damage buff. So really, really good synergy there if you want to put her in a guardian set. And the other champion is Vrask. Vrask has a very good base HP of 23.5k. He's also got this A1 here, which fills his own turn meter by 20% if it's critical, and the passive that heals everybody by 10% when he inflicts a critical hit. So just build him with a ton of HP, ton of protection. He'll help out your team immensely. He's also a very solid carry for Faction Wars if you need somebody to heal you up. Demon Spawn, I actually have a lot of options here. So the first one's going to be Duchess, because she has this damage mitigation passive on an AoE. So you couple that with a little bit of damage mitigation in a way of Guardian. She also has very, very solid base defense as well as solid base HP. So Duchess is a very good way to go. The other option might be overlooked a little bit for this set, and people might be surprised to see this, but it's actually Mortu Macabre. Mortu has 23k base HP. He also has this passive here that has a 20% chance to unlock a secret skill, Peril, for 1 turn when attacked, and a chance to fill his turn meter by 25%. So Peril is doing damage based on HP. So if you have this guy built into a Guardian set, he's taking damage basically continually, whether he's attacked or not. Obviously, you're scaling his HP already, so he's going to be able to do a lot of damage and block some revives on the Peril. Next champion is going to be Umbral. So Umbral has this AoE provoke for 2 turns, as well as an unkillable on herself for 2 turns. So any damage that is coming in towards your team during that 2 turns, she can basically just absorb perfectly free. So even if she doesn't put the provoke out, you still have the unkillable. So if you put her in a Guardian set, she is going to be a very, very good way to go. Do I have anyone else for this faction? I do. I have Nazana. Nazana is a daily login, if I remember right. Her A2 is putting an AoE ally protection as well as a shield on herself for 40% of her max HP. So again, very basic. You combine this with a Guardian set, and it's a very good way to go. We are on to the Undead Hordes. This guy also made an appearance in my Stone Skin set video. This is Necrit. Necrit's putting a lot of ally protection out on your team. Ally attack, all that good stuff. Very good base defense and base HP. Phenomenal champion in a Guardian set. We also have Vogoth, the epic down here, who is putting... he's healing basically by 50% of the damage he receives. This does work with a Guardian set from my testing. He's also got a provoke, so he's able to bring damage in towards himself. Just overall amazing for mitigating the damage your team takes. On to Dark Elves. First up is going to be Vizix. She's got a ally protection already on her A2, as well as a provoke and a shield on her A3. So if you couple that with a Guardian set, she's a very, very good champion. And if we go down here to epics, we got Crimson Helm, who's going to be placing a revive on death on everybody. But not only that, she also has a provoke with a block damage on herself for 1 turn. So any damage she's absorbing during that time isn't going to count. Very, very horrible base HP though, but she does have a very good base defense, and she's very slow. So building her slow as hell with a lot of HP will make this skill be very, very useful for mitigating damage. Basically anywhere for your team. And then we have Knight's Revenant, who has a few options here. So we are going to start with Burgoth, who is a poor man's Vogoth. It's going to heal everybody by 20% when he's attacked, except himself, so having him absorb more damage would be useful regardless. We have Rector Draft, who's a good option as well. She's good at putting Veils, perfect Veils, or yeah, she's healing people a crap ton. She's got very good resistance aura, all that good stuff. She's increasing everybody else's resistance. Having her suck inhibited damage wouldn't be a bad thing. She's also strong affinity for a lot of like magic nukers and such, meaning that she's going to get weak hit anyways. And then, let's see, I thought I had one more from this faction. I do, Daywalker. So Daywalker has this passive that revives himself with 30% HP and attacks all enemies after being killed. So obviously if he's sucking in a lot of damage, that's just going to, you know, expedite the fact that he's going to do that AoE when he's revived on a 5-turn cooldown, which isn't horrible base HP though. But if you build this guy out fast just so he's cycling through turns and absorbing damage, pretty decent way to go. Onto the dwarves, and there is a lot of good options in here. So first of all, we have Samar Gemcursed, who has this passive where he places a block damage for himself at the start of each round, as well as placing a block damage buff on him for one turn when they receive a hit that would drop their HP below 30%. So having this guy bring in a lot of damage to himself is also going to allow him to survive, because he's just going to activate these. Very good base HP and base defense on this guy. Other option is a famous champion by now, which is Mountain King, who has a base HP of 31,000, which is just ridiculous. So having this guy absorb a lot of damage from your team is amazing. That, you know, that base HP is just going to make it so easy. He's nice and slow as well, so you can just have him cycling a lot slower than everybody else, and, you know, basically just sucking in all the damage from your team. Of course, Rearguard Sergeant, she's placing a continuous heal on everybody except herself for 2 turns. Having her in a Guardian set wouldn't be bad, because it is giving her that 10% heal. Could see that being useful in somewhere like Clan Boss, although you would want to pair her with someone else who can actually heal her up as well. Master Butcher is a good way to go, because he's healing all allies equal to the amount of damage taken on a 1-turn cooldown, so having him take a lot more damage wouldn't be a bad thing. Decent base HP of 18k. But also this here is reviving an ally with full HP when he's killed, so having him absorb a lot more damage and dying is not a bad thing. Plus he's placing provokes and all that good stuff, so Master Butcher is a decent way to go as well. Do I have anyone else? I do. So having somebody like a Tormin in a Guardian set isn't bad either, just because when this guy dies, he revives himself and actually places a freeze on himself anyways, which means that he's going to absorb 25% less damage, so having him suck in that 10% damage from everybody else during that time means he's going to be able to survive perfectly fine. On to the last faction here, which we're going to have 2 options. The first one is Kyoku. So Kyoku has an ally protect in her kit anyways, which is a 50% ally protect and a block damage on herself for 3 turns with an extra turn, as well as a decreased attack and all that good stuff. So having her absorb more damage again is going to be perfectly fine because of that block damage, which is essentially always up. Very, very good option. And then the last option is Taragi the Frog, who brings his own ally protection as well as a shield on everybody else, and he heals himself plus puts reflect damage out there. 21k base HP. Very, very good champion. He's placing a poison when he's hit, so I mean, this guy would be insane in a Guardian kit as well, helping me get through faction wars, that's for sure. Hope you guys found the video useful. Let me know down below if you think I missed any champions. I'm excited to hear from you guys, and have a great day.